All right, so today we're announcing Primo. Primo is by far, our most sophisticated product yet. It is a legal research product that we believe is truly agentic. Primo considers all South African primary legal sources and gives you the best answers to your legal queries. We felt that it's worthwhile for us to kind of go through some of the ideas behind the product design, what are some of the application areas that we think it will be most useful for, and just give you some general insight into how we think about legal research and product development. I guess to start off, Jules, research has been a core theme of ours even prior to Primo. It's a consistent theme across all our products. Maybe you can comment on why research is so central to what we're doing.
Yeah, absolutely. So I think there's two sides of the coin when answering that question. The first, of course, has to do with the tech landscape and why it lends itself to a research product. But of course, the other side of that is looking at the legal industry more specifically. And I think we really believe that research is a foundational workflow across all practices of law. And so it made sense for this to be our starting point at Adjunct. I think it also means that with this foundation, we can in future build hopefully very interesting products or niche products with this as our base. And so really that's what was in the thinking and why this has been a focus for such a long time and what's also led to the development of Primo.
Awesome. You mentioned that research is such a general purpose functionality. In particular, though, are there any areas of law, are there any tasks that you think it will be especially useful for?
Yeah. So again, we really do hope that Primo is going to be useful for attorneys across different practice areas. But I think a very classic example of where we see research being used a lot is in the litigation space. And so we think something like Primo could really help attorneys who are, in a scenario where you are representing your clients in court, but, the deck is stacked against you in terms of case precedent or legislation that exists. And Primo could potentially help you to find those niche or corner cases to either support an argument that you've already built or even help you in the construct of that argument. And so I think that's just one example of where we think this is going to be, a solution that brings a touch of magic to what lawyers are already doing. I think it would be interesting now to hear from you in terms of, localized data has been a huge focus for us from the beginning. But why exactly does that make this research solution so different compared to what we've seen in the market to date?
Yeah, I think a product in the market that's become very popular recently is this idea of deep research.
Hmm.
And in simple terms, deep research is an AI system that has access to web search and effectively takes, or does a more extensive web search than typically has been done, and then compiles it into a single answer.
Hmm.
And the idea is that the more capacity you throw at the question in terms of search and in terms of AI, the better
Hmm.
quality answers you're going to get. And that has been the case. I think with Primo, you basically have that same sort of the same amount of capacity and work that's going into the system, but it's focused purely on primary legal sources of data.
Hmm.
And so you're going to get better answers. The model is not going to be spending time on websites that might not be reliable.
Hmm.
Instead, it's going to be looking at case law and legislation that that you can obviously trust.
Yeah.
And based on what we've seen in the outputs, the results are significantly better.
Yeah. Awesome. And, then maybe just to understand from your side, why has it that research has been such a strategic focus? Why did you believe this was the right direction? And, is this still going to be a focus for us in future? And, what is your perspective of research in general and then research for adjunct?
Yeah, I think AI systems I think have been most beneficial in environments where they have to kind of deal with a large amount of information processing
Mm,
in a short amount of time. Legal research in general, is the kind of thing that I think lends itself well to.
mm,
I don't think it's a surprise that the deep research that are coming out of other companies at the moment is picking up because I do think that is the right application area. If you
mm,
had to go back 18 months, the number one or the most spoken about application in law was case law summary, right? You upload a single case, usually like 10 to 30 pages, and then
mm,
you get back a one page or half a page summary of the most important points. forward to today, we basically at the point now where an individual query will then trigger off looking through tens of acts and hundreds of case law,
Mm,
synthesizing all of that into a single answer.
mm,
And I think that's just downstream of the fact that there's better tools for product developers to use.
mm,
Right from the get-go, one of our beliefs at the company was that the toolbox for AI application developers like Adjunct is going to get better. There'll be more intelligence at a cheaper cost. Things are going to get quicker. And as a
mm,
result, you'll be able to provide more value in the products that you build. Primo, in my opinion, is the first product that we've released that kind of reflects that truly. And I
mm,
think that trend is going to continue. Yeah. I also think that research, as you mentioned, is a foundational piece.
mm,
But it's you have to kind of build on that foundation. Part of our job right now is to extend on that, to build layers on top of that,
mm,
and show lawyers more specifically where this adds value in their workflow. Whether that be in a litigation context when you are putting together your pleadings, or
mm,
whether you're drafting a legal opinion.
mm.
We would like that to be kind of front and center of our products, and research to just be something that's happening in the background, just an assumed step in the whole process.
Yeah, that's really interesting and exciting. I think it means that even research as we know it today is going to be completely redefined. And we're really excited to be able to bring that to South African attorneys.